So the presentation was an attempt to give a broad overview of cryptocurrencies as an alternative investment class. This is an asset class that's been increasing at least in sort of public noise, and one which the traditional financial services industry hasn't really taken on board as yet. So to try and get a better understanding of it, was an attempt to go through the underlying technology, perhaps, that drives this whole ecosystem, run through some of the price points and economic variables that have affected cryptocurrency over the last few years, including understanding of where the market stands at the moment. It was really an attempt to try and suss out some of the misconceptions that have been held about cryptocurrencies, as well as outline some of the issues that have plagued cryptocurrencies for a while now, and predominantly to put it out there that this is still an early emerging asset class, and as all early asset classes do, come with their fair share of problems, but to also highlight the potential value proposition for the future, and particularly the growth potential for the future, and what that future may look like, where cryptocurrencies are more sort of seamlessly integrated into the financial system as well as the larger sort of socio-political system. The actual answer is quite intuitive, counterintuitive, and actually quite the opposite. So the original Bitcoin white paper was published under the handle of Satoshi Nakamoto to an open source forum. We still don't know, yes, who it was, whether it was a man, a woman, or a group of people. And rather than that being an issue, if anything, I consider you to look at it the other way, that because we don't know who it is, there is no central point of failure. There is no one you can go to hold at ransom to try and crack the code. There is no one that you can hijack or kidnap to capture the value of the remaining, which is quite a large proportion that this person or group of people may eventually hold. It's in his anonymity is where the sanctity of cryptocurrencies, or at least Bitcoin itself, remains protected, which is a completely counterintuitive construct, but again, one that needs to be understood within the larger sort of principles and philosophies of cryptocurrencies, whereas trying to put that system into the current financial model just doesn't really work and does raise more questions than it does provide answers. Well, the short answer is that it has no intrinsic value. The longer answer is that really nothing has any intrinsic value. There is no such thing as intrinsic value, there's only perceived value. And over years we have allocated value to various different things to an extent that it has become a shared fiction. And that is the case with all money, whether you're talking about equity, whether you're talking about currencies, whether you're talking about gold, which really has no intrinsic value apart from its use in semiconductors, which is minuscule in terms of its larger price point. Really what cryptocurrencies are is that they're an establishment of trust, and they're an abstraction of value. And in that format, it serves its purpose perfectly by providing, in a lot of ways, a digital equivalent of what a banknote is, which is an abstraction of value, a trust that if someone gave this to you, that can then be utilized in the future for that equivalent amount. It's just that this seems more, again, I keep using the word counterintuitive because the whole paradigm is so, but it's just a model that we are not used to before.
Well, they're certainly not all the same, and that's why they've emerged. They all have a slightly different angle. There's a good way of looking at it that cryptocurrencies can be classified into four main categories. The first one is intrinsic. So cryptocurrencies that are intrinsic aren't backed by anything, and the most common example is Bitcoin, and its value is derived from the market and supply and demand. The second is a utility token. So utility is often thought of as say a prepaid voucher, and an example would be access to a blockchain platform that's in development. So utility token might be issued while the platform is created, and then later you can use it. The third category is where we have asset-backed tokens, sometimes referred to as stable coins. And so Tether is the most commonly used one. That came out of America, where people could use a kind of a halfway house between cryptocurrency and the US dollar. It's supposed to be pegged or tethered, but the value does fluctuate a little. And then the fourth category is security tokens. Those I think are the most exciting. Those are basically digital tokenized equity, which can be programmed. So I think that's going to shake up the capital markets. We've got a growing industry in New Zealand. On-ramps and off-ramps are still difficult. And by that I mean there's only a few exchanges in New Zealand. The largest one, Cryptopia, was recently hacked and has gone into liquidation. So there's a real shame for New Zealand. There's also a few people providing cryptocurrency services. So there are brokerages starting out. There's a lot of people starting to accept cryptocurrency. It's getting slow but steady traction. I think there's still a few problems around the area that people are working through, but there is a couple of really big blockchain development studios, if you like, in New Zealand, where people have developers and they have infrastructure building. So I think that's quite exciting. Inland Revenue has published some guidance about a year ago. They put out a question and answers on their website called Cryptocurrency and Tax. So roughly the tax treatment is similar to the Australian tax treatment that Prash talked about today. And I think Inland Revenue are starting to put out more and more issues papers and discussion as they refine their thinking and more examples come to light.